Okay, so as a little side thing, I decided to get myself a booster bundle for the new Phantasmal Flames for Pokemon TCG that just dropped. So it's such a bad financial decision, but I was like, you know what, I need some retail therapy. I had a pretty shit week, and you know what, let's just run it with 6 packs. So we're gonna blitz through this real quick in between rounds, and I believe I was more distracted with this than my actual tournament, so sorry to my teammates, but hey man, it's Pokemon. I really love Pokemon. So growing up, I actually played a lot of Pokemon, not the card game. So first pack, we actually got nothing but a Reshiram. So the reverse holo punk helmet is pretty nice, I guess. I do like reverse holo. So growing up as a kid, I was like, you know what, reverse holo, so cool. This thing is in foil, oh my god. So second pack, I don't think we got anything good. We had an Oricorio EX. I did really like the Oricorio when it came out in Inferno X, which is the Japanese version of the game with the Shinji Kanda special illustration. But hey man, the deck is interesting but pretty bad. I don't know, maybe I haven't found the right build for that. So third pack, we have Palmot. Again, nothing much. Moving on to the third pack, I believe this booster bundle was nothing but a huge financial loss, but we did enjoy opening the packs, so that's fine. In fact, my buddy Darius was beside me opening as well. We were both like convincing each other, hey man, bro, you want to open or not? You want to open or not? I just like, you know what, screw it. We need some retail therapy to heal our soul for the week. So here we have the next pack, getting a illustration rare or art rare. I'm not sure what they call it in the English TCG, but it is basically a alternate art version for the Wigglytuff, which is really nice to have. And the last pack, we were hoping for some last pack magic. Did it happen? I don't think it did. So moving on back to the tournament, we have a Flygon rare, and that was it for the booster bundle. Okay, let's start the game voiceover. So first round, I'm actually up against a very good friend of mine, Pinkun. He isn't a very long time player, but he's really establishing himself as one of the best players in Singapore to date. And I'm actually up against Eleglemma, so mandatory bro fist. Moving on, riding up to the great one ever, searching the energy torrential research or something like that. Basically is that orange kaiju order right there that you can see, searching out a populate. He actually kept his hand with no redraw. You can pretty much tell that Eleglemma is gonna have like a hell of a time with an essentially perfect hand right there, and you're gonna really see the full-blown potential that Eleglemma actually has in this game. So other than having heavy filter, gaining massive amounts of advantage from basically playing multiple set orders a turn, you're gonna really see why Bushiroad actually set the rule that you can only play one set order a turn. And yet Eleglemma, being a deck that bends this very rule of the game, shows how much destructive power the deck actually can bring. So the entire deck, if you guys aren't aware by now, which you guys probably should, it's a deck that essentially tries to OTK or really push their opponent to the death in essentially one turn. So it's established itself as one of the strongest decks in Vanguard's history, simply from the looping of set orders and the general filtering of the deck by fishing out all the set orders. So we're gonna look at Silhouette here. I'm actually playing Silhouette for some reason in this Metascape with all the Basagra, Youthberg and whatnot. So going up to the grade 2, we're gonna try to aggro him down a bit with the left hand and the drill. Obviously, I tried to aggro with no boosters. He checks a damage trigger, which shuts down my turn. So he goes up to Eleglemma. So on right, he gets 3 set orders, and each of them actually say draw 1. So right up, basically drawing him 3 new cards that he can use, and he's doing a fantastic job by fishing out all of the populates in the deck. So each populate will essentially get him more cards because they do set orders, and with Brandgate's orders, they either filter, draw cards, or just call out more units. So yeah, there was somebody knocking onto the camera, which I apologize for, but yeah, the tripod is not really the best, so try to get it back adjusted. And he's just gonna do the loop. So even though Moe Flash is at 1 and you cannot play Tactian in the deck anymore to loop with Savion, you can still use the new Tefalt or Magnides in this case to keep on filtering for set orders to fuel your order zone. And either that or you can call out another unit. So he goes for the second Magnides and just essentially starts netting more orders. So if you can see, each time he top 5s or top 7s or whatever, he's just getting more and more orders out. So he does have the Mo Flash, which is essentially bad news for any player if they see this common card appearing on the opponent's side of the field. and he's just gonna continue the loop. So we're just gonna try and tell you what each order does. So Gravidia order allows you to soul charge 1, which is actually important in this deck because you do want to, in a sense, compress your deck. Even though it is a blind soul charge, you might soul charge a trigger, but you still do need the Soul Blast 2 for Savian's effect. So he's gonna use the first populate to add back the All-Fist order to draw 1, playing it out because your Vanguard is Elegema. So there are Eva decks that actually run this card simply just to add back an order. It is essentially like free value. You can discard your orders early to ride up in case you do not have, like, say a what's that, Immigra to discard, and basically it is a free refund that allows you to sort of get back value. So he's just gonna go out and call the Jumbo Crusher right there using the Torrential Energy Research to put the Magnides in order zone. Saviot is there to add back the Magnides for more filter. He's gonna discard the trigger because essentially he's at 2 damage and Silhouette doesn't really have a super big like damage output, or it does 5 attacks, but in a very cruel and wickedly painful way to do it. So here we have Savioi calling out the Magnides. Magnides are just farming again and again and again. So he's gonna look through all of the populates this turn. We have the Grade 2 Research Order that allows him to draw 1 and discard 1. So this allows him to keep digging deeper into the deck and hopefully allowing him to get at least 3 set orders in his hand to use Moe Flash again and again and again. So that's essentially the point of the deck, right? You just keep on looping and looping the set orders out of your deck. Each set order will net you more cards, and having 5 different set orders will allow you to stand a rearguard and a vanguard, also additionally pumping 10,000 power to your vanguard. So a really destructive deck by nature, and I still apologize for bringing this deck to Singapore because yeah, for most of my career when I started out playing Vanguard a little bit more seriously this year, I played Elegema for a long time. So some of my friends actually caught on and they just decided to, hey, you know what, let's build this deck. It was very cheap. In fact, Elegema was a $2 card, or maybe even less than that, because nobody actually figured out the loop, or because Moe Flash hasn't been released yet. But I believe after Moe Flash got released, it sort of like went up a little bit, but at a current price point now, it is just ridiculous compared to what I got it for previously. In fact, the base rare version of the card was like, I don't know, the price of the FFR that I bought previously in JP. So he actually chooses to not push for the lethal this turn because I believe he is gunning for a Persona right turn, which is essentially much more destructive and allowing him to dig deeper into deck with the top 5. So I go up to Silhouette and the right line allows me to call 2 of the hands, and you're gonna see why this has essentially no point. In fact, even though I had a pretty much a god state board for Silhouette with the 2 Robbie, I believe the great one behind the left hand's name is Robbie. So this is what Silhouette should be gunning for nowadays. You have the left hand or the red hand to allow you to draw cards, as well as the drill, which is essentially a crit gainer. So these 2 allow you to get advantage, have additional push power, and having the Winston behind the Vanguard allows you to trigger the 5th attack because it allows you to EB3, detach an arm on top of your Vanguard's original effect to detach 1. So when Winston came out, I was like, you know what, this deck finally has 5 attacks. Like, oh my god, even though they're really small, but they're still an additional attack, so you can't complain much about that. So right here, I'm swinging for like, what, over 50k, maybe 50k. So the hand is like 15, the drill is 15, Vanguard is 13, that's 43, and 8k from Winston puts it at 51. So 51k 2 crit allow me to draw 1. Unfortunately, it is only twin drive, so you can't really dig very deep into the deck, even though you do filter a lot from the set order, allowing you to, I think, top 7 for like 2 arms or some shit like that. So we're just gonna see the deck doing what it is supposed to do, which is hitting for a very high center column, but Penguin managed to guard everything because Elegema just has that much hand advantage. So at this point, he goes for the Persona right, which really doesn't matter because I'm essentially dead. Even though I am at 1 damage, you're gonna see how truly destructive this deck can be with the multiple attacks, gaining crit from Jumbo Crusher, and drive checking, even though it is twin drive from a super filtered deck. Yeah, it pretty much all its triggers like at this point because all of the set orders are out, all of the units are out, and I believe we have not seen the funny trigger. So we're gonna see Peng-kun continuing the loop right here with the torrential monster research. You can see the over trigger is in the deck, and you can just see how thin the deck is and how thick his hand size actually is. So even though I did lock him at 1 Counter Blast, it wouldn't really matter because the Jumbo Crusher would still be swinging with 2 crits, which is more than enough pressure on its own. But I believe this game we got Elder Breath, so in fact all of my games today I got over triggered, so you're just gonna have to wait and see how badly I suffered today, even though I was playing a really fun deck. I really like Silhouette in terms of artwork. I love Quilly's art ever since I started playing Vanguard, and I'm just a huge fan of the Youthquake series. There's something about these like spin-offs or like these side stories that really get me riled up about Vanguard, because it is essentially like a retelling of what everything is. There we go, Elder Breath, and the moment he checked that, I'm like, yep, that's the writing on the wall. In fact, my only hope was to check a heal trigger, which I believe at this point I still had like, what, 2 or 3 heal triggers in my deck, and my deck was like fairly filtered. So here we go, taking the 4 damage from the 1 million Jumbo Crusher, and that was game. Alright, so game 2, we're up against Youthbug. So Youthbug is essentially a really huge powerhouse beatdown deck similar to Elegima, but it swarms more early game compared to Elegima, so there is the presence of early game pressure. Like you can see here, he's just trying to like swarm me with more attacks early game, even though the power is not the biggest. It is still a threat early game because especially for slightly older decks like mine, right, you don't really have as much farming compared to the more modern decks nowadays. So we're gonna see myself struggle a little bit, but the benefit is I did go first. So Silhouette is a deck that wants to gun going first because the drill, the grade 2 drill allows you to gain crit even though your opponent is not grade 3, I believe. It's either that or I misplayed the whole day, so if that's the case, I apologize. But yeah, so this deck, I really love it. I believe over here I did a misplay, so we're just gonna like try to run it back right here. I believe I was reading the card at this point while hand shuffling. So what did I do? Yeah, I was reading the card right here and I told myself, hey bro, it's a misplay. You have to retire the Wolf grade 1 to actually set back the set order. So I just told my opponent, you know what, I apologize for that. Let me do an alternate line of play. And it was just a casual like Saturday tournament, so we're all really chill with that. In fact, we're all just trying to have some fun playing casual decks, figuring out what older decks can actually do in this current metascape. So I tried to go for a tri-column. Luckily he guarded the first attack, and here we are with the third attack, moving on to Youthbug's turn. So grade 2 is where Youthbug really starts to shine, right? Because the right line allows you to call more cards, and I believe the new grade 2 triple rare that just came out recently allows you to call up more units. So there we go, the new grade 2. It allows the opponent to counter blast 1 and I believe top 7 to call a card to an open rearguard circle. So that's what a lot of players do not actually understand. This is a card with a slightly limited restriction in terms of calling. In fact, there are a lot of cards now that allow you to call over units, right? So I believe this misplay was actually caught in the Tokyo WGP, and yeah, it basically minus the Youthbug player, one of the Youthbug players with 1 Serangoon. So here we go, Youthbug, tri-column again. And unfortunately the dissection is another awkward spot right there. So yep, there we go. I tried to guard 1 pass, try to be slick about it, but he did check the critical trigger, pushing me to 4, which is like danger zone because we all know how disruptive Youthbug can be going up to the first grade 3 with the 5 attacks. And here you have Serangoon just starting to do their own, you know, little farming thing. And I realized I made a misplay here because I could have just like kept my units and he wouldn't have been able to proc Serangoon, which would have made 1 column of his slightly weaker unless he wants to call over the dissection. So here we go with the grade 3 Silhouette, the grade 2 allowing me to call back 2 arms. So this is why I actually intercepted 1 pass and tried to roll a a cheeky 1 pass right there. But here we go with the set order. We're gonna try to farm out more cards and filter out more. So I told my opponent, hey, I have the same name, so I'm just gonna add it into my hand and putting the set order into the soul. So the good thing about Silhouette is you don't really have to use Counter Blast a lot. You can keep using the Counter Blast for the red hand to draw more cards. So it all revolves around soul. So everything in the deck pretty much builds up my soul. You can see here that my soul is mostly at least 3, 4, or sometimes even 5, which is quite a lot, not gonna lie. And here we have the Silhouette going in at full power. Even though the deck is at 4 attacks, when my opponent isn't at grade 3, we're just gonna see a 51k with 2 criticals and twin drive. So here's my opponent counting. I don't think he has a PG, which is slightly unfortunate because Silhouette is a deck that always center column PG checks opponent, simply because of the crit pressure and the extraordinary amount of power that it has, even like before Persona right turn or whatsoever. So here we go, twin drive, blank. Really unfortunate because I told myself I did filter quite a bit. So here we have Silhouette burning through like I think 2 or 3 counter blasts per turn just to draw cards, which is so bad in the current meta game. You have to do so much, burn so much resources just to draw cards. It's just crazy. So here we have Youthberg, the rebuilt arms, I believe that's the name, and allows him to get back a grade 2. Yeah, there we go. The right line fetches him back the new triple rare. So we see a very expensive order being played here. The old Starry Knights or something like that. Top 7 calling 1. He does call the Corino, which allows him to farm out a Pittsburgh or Yellow Uberg form. I don't know what the name is. I'm not even gonna try to remember. I'm sorry, Imagi. So yeah, Corino entering Soul with the Uberg form, Counterblasting 1, allowing him to top 7 for another unit, same grade or lower than the Vanguard if I am not mistaken. He is going to indeed call the grade 2 Combine Rusher. I believe that would have been a better play, but he decides to go for the dissection. I have no idea why. You're gonna see how that really nips my opponent in the butt when when the later game goes on. I believe if he actually called the Interceptor, right, it would have given him more advantage, but he did admit to me that this was a misplay because he thought that the grade 2 can call to any rearguard circle, which I told him no, you can only call it to open. And that's why I think that was his thought process before he decided to not call the Combine Rusher. So here we have him just moving the dissection. I told him, you know what, it's okay, you know, we're all here to have fun, we're all here to enjoy Vanguard, so nothing too heavy about the rulings on my part. So 13k to the Vanguard, I told him 2 pass. He's just going to casually check a freaking over trigger here, second over trigger, second game of the day, and that would have been lethal, but luckily I checked a heal trigger, so thank goodness for that. He does power all to the center, so I'm not gonna have to deal with another 100 million attack. I'm not even sure if I have another perfect guard in my hand at this point, so if he actually did 100 million the side, I would have been dead, but then again, pushing the center column is correct. So here we have Pittsburgh out, restanding the grade 2, Pittsburgh swinging. I'm not sure if he checked the trigger here, I don't think he did, so I just told him, you know what, LM, I'm scared. So yes, I did have another perfect guard. So here we go, checking a 10k shield for him basically, and dissection swinging. Not exactly sure about the power. I believe this was like, I don't know, 26k or something like that. So 5k guard right there. And here we have the side as well. So I told myself, this is it, Persona right? This is gonna be Silhouette at its peak. So I did check the Wolf effect afterwards, so I'm just gonna Soul Blast 2, add back a Arms, plusing the Wolf 5k. We're gonna call Balderate here, and I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna try and farm out a board. Balderate doesn't activate, unfortunately, because I do not have a set order, so it is essentially the Little Sage Marin at the back row. So here's me just explaining what Winston actually does, telling him that it all gains 5, and the drill actually on Rearguard Circle allows me to put a Arms into the Soul for extra 5k boost, so this is swinging at 30k, so this is a 20k requirement from my opponent. I told him, wait, hang on, it's 30k to attack, not 30k to guard. So he does add back the Combine Rusher. So 25 to the Vanguard, this is a 15k. He does take the damage if I am not mistaken, because he does have a very weird like guarding value hand. So that's a bit unfortunate on my opponent's end. But this was swinging in at like 81k or something like that, which was like huge if he doesn't have a PG. It's just hilarious. I freaking love this deck so much, man. The amount of power that this deck gains is just crazy compared to other Brand Gate decks. And this is just a PG center column check deck, honestly. So we're gonna see my opponent trying to guard, even though no PG Silhouette center is just unguardable for like common sense. But hey man, Silhouette, I don't know what this deck actually does, but we're just gonna see each other have fun. And Silhouette taking first game against Youthberg. Okay, game 3, we are actually up against Bafsagra, and I was telling myself, oh my god, do I have to fight another Bafsagra? Why? So Bafsagra actually rowing first, so that's already like more than half the battle lost already in my books. So in this game, I believe I was actually really tired at one point because I was like waiting a long time. So it's actually the format that my card shop does, and Usually if you get 2 wins, because even though I did lose the first game, my team carried me for the the first game, and I won the second game, so we moved on to A+, which we had to wait a long time for our third game. But here we have Silhouette, just me explaining all the effects again, because that's the thing with older decks, right? Like it either becomes slightly irrelevant, so people don't really remember fully what the deck does. But my opponent was, I was thankful that my opponent sort of knows what Silhouette does. He told me he did play the deck a little bit when it first came out, because when Silhouette came out, it was really cool. But then again, now I am fighting the real arms deck, so I had to really explain the new cards to my opponent, what the deck does now, which is basically the same thing with an additional attack and an additional crit. So here we have me trying to aggro my opponent down with Roby. I still think the name is Roby. I can't be sure about that, but yeah. So him going up to the grade 2 and doing the typical Basagra shenanigans. So 15k swing, I was like, okay, 1 drive check, you know what, I'm gonna guard that. He checks the heal, so I was presented an opportunity to lock him out of the counterblast, but I told myself, you know what, I'm just gonna go for this, because I wasn't fully thinking at this point, and I was just trying to do what the deck does. Filtering more arms, I see like more than enough arms in my top 7, which was really lucky. I believe we were both luck sacking each other in this game, so we were actually commenting a lot about it after the game, which was freaking hilarious. These are the mini interactions like at locals that I really like. Some friendly bantering going on around after the game, before the game, because you do go to locals, meet friends, and just have a ton of fun. So here we have my opponent going up to his secret rare Buffsagra, so that's already aura points, and I believe this entire game he had like Arx Verina for discard fodder to farm out more pieces from his deck. So all the talismans coming out, which means he's guaranteed a Waylord already. And here we have him doing his usual shenanigans. You can mash out to draw more cards, gaining more advantage and more advantage from the Arx Verina. So I was really in a terrible spot in terms of resource game compared to my opponents. So here we see him retiring my Roby, which is really sad because I did want the Roby effect to Soul Blast and 2-card guard. So we have him Soul Blasting 2, retiring my hand right there, and he does check a double crit, which I told myself, you know what, at this point, whatever, man. But I did check a defensive OT plus a heal trigger, so that mitigates like 2 damage, which was really lucky on my end, honestly. And here we have the right line going up, calling us 2 of the arms right there. So here we have me just trying to filter out whatever I can, and me calling out the Winston for 5 attacks, as well as the additional 5k boost, and having one more set order, which allows my Baldrake to proc later into the game. So me essentially just setting up 1-card guard, and 5 attack with more boosters, and we're gonna see how destructive the Silhouette can be this game with a little bit of luck sack. I will admit I got pretty lucky. Both of us actually got really lucky this game. So we did play to a near deck out scenario right here. This was actually the longest game I played the entire day, because we were just really locked in after like I think 4 turns. So here we have me explaining the power for Silhouette, but he does have a perfect guard, which means that it's essentially nothing. So I was considering like damage locking him and just killing the Yume Mashat, but I realized I will lose down the road in terms of the resource game. So I did choose to get rid of the Yume Mashat just in case he has a double restand or whatever. But I forgot that he is playing the Talisman build. So Talisman build typically doesn't go for double Yume Mashat. He does try to go for the Power Varina, or you know, typically those are the lines of play that the new Buffsagra tries to go for. So he did miss the Persona right, which was really lucky on my end. I believe he tried to retire my Winston right there, so this was me explaining what Winston actually does, because I believe he played the deck before Winston came out, and he's just gonna go out for the retiring of the Winston, which was really painful, but I believe I had another copy of it in my hand, so that was really lucky on my side. But yep, here we have him calling a really subpar board, unfortunately for him, but he does successfully clear out the entirety of my board right there. So Buffsagra not having the triple drive here really hurts, not having the full board really hurts as well. So that's the thing with the new Buffsagra, right? Like, you do have the Talisman engine, but you do not establish powerful boards like before. So we have him checking the over trigger again. I told myself, you know what, 3rd over trigger of the day, whatever. He does add back the perfect guard, because At this point, I was like, oh my god, another over trigger, another perfect guard to deal with, putting me at 5 against this 1 damage, and he has the perfect guard, so my Vanguard isn't really gonna break through right there. Even though I do have the persona right for the 80 over K center column, it doesn't matter because he does have the perfect guard. But here we have me trying to build back my board. So Roby allowing me the top 7, essentially doing what the set order does, but on legs. And here we have me using the wolf to actually retrieve back arms for additional value. And I was considering to actually retire the wolf right here to get back the set order, but I told myself maybe I will do that next turn because he's likely to be more inclined to retire my Winston rather than the wolf, which is really good, right? Like the grade 2s are essentially value engines, and the grade 1s are like farming slash recursion in the form of the wolf. So really powerful deck in terms of resource. Like, they do have the resource game locked down, it's just that Twin Drive does make it a little hard to catch up in the current metagame. So here we have me boosting. I have no idea why I was boosting. I should have just saved the boosters for the attack after I do detach my arms. So here we go, the perfect guard, Twin Drive, blank into front, which is huge because front triggers make my Vanguard additional 30k bigger. So here we have me explaining the power once again, and his hand is looking a little thin, which is a really good spot to be in for myself. And I believe he tried to guard through most of this to sort of keep the damage at bay. So here we have him doing the shield shenanigans and dropping the front trigger and eating the drill attack. So moving on to his turn, he does miss the persona again, which is really unfortunate, but really lucky for me. And here we see my hand size being absolutely massive from basically drawing like 5 cards through the hands counterblasting 1 ability. So here we have him Yume Mashad again, drawing 2 cards and activating Bar's effect. And here we have the sword, so this allows him to get triple drive, which is really good on his side. Here we have the Veilord and him going up to, I believe, another, yep, here we go, the Bauer Verina. So he does Soul Blast 2 to get rid of my front row. Typical Buffsagra shenanigans, and thank god he didn't like Bauer Verina my back row because he does have soul issue because he did miss the persona right, which is really lucky on my end. And I believe here he did make a misplay at the end of the turn. He was telling me he should have procced the grade 1 behind Yume Mashad, which is essentially a Shenri for Buffsagra for the additional soul as well. So here we have him going out for a full push, and Buffsagra swinging. I was telling myself, you know what, perfect guard, I'm not going to deal with counting numbers right here. So triple drive into triple blank, which is really good for me. And I was telling myself, if he does not have a perfect guard, then next turn is going to be massive. So here we have the Kagetsu restand heal, thank god, allowing me to guard through the Yume Mashad successfully. And the I persona right here, I think I did not, so unfortunate. But here we have me using the wolf to get back the set order allowing me to top 7 to filter out more hands. And I believe I told myself I am not gonna add, or did I add? I can't remember. I did add, okay. No, I just discarded them all. So here we have a second wolf to Soul Blast 2, adding back a arms and using the set spell effect to actually get back 2 arms by sending it into the soul, which is good recursion engine for me, I guess. So that's the thing I really like about Silhouette, right? Like, everything works perfectly in a deck. Everything feels really nice to play. There is no awkwardness in the deck, if that makes sense. But I'm not sure if my deck list is the best, but it is the deck list that I am comfortable with. So there may be new cards that I should consider adding in, but with the current deck list, I am quite comfortable. So maybe I will be more open to hearing more suggestions in the future. I'm not sure, but I don't intend to really touch this deck anymore after this tournament until the new form comes out, which I am so hyped about. I am so in love with you, Quick. But hey, I mean, the deck is outdated. It does deserve a new form or new cards. It has been receiving like double rare supports, which we all know that might not be the best, but it is something. So here we have me thinking if I should get rid of the Yume Mashad again, but I was like, you know what, let's just try to do what we can here. So I did check a double heal, which was really lucky. Thank goodness, otherwise I would have died. But then again, my deck was looking pretty thin, so a little unfortunate on my end. I was telling myself I have to close out the game, so I did go for the face to sort of push and set up really nicely for next turn. But of course, at this state, even though I'm at 3 damage, the deck is looking a little thin, and I didn't want to die the deck out, so I was actually really counting my deck size. I was so locked in at this point, like, oh my gosh, I do not want to die the deck out. It's so unfortunate, but we have him doing his usual Balsagra shenanigans, so blasting 2. Cindy is such a broken card, getting rid of my front row, and I perfectly guarded this turn. I think I was really lucky to actually check a damage trigger here, I believe. So here we go, crit. Oh no, that was not a crit, I think that was another game. So Balderate, unfortunate. But here we have Yugen Mashat. I think I took the damage here. I did check a damage trigger here at some point. I can't recall. But yeah, so here we have Buff swinging. He does have triple drive, I believe. So I was betting on like him not being able to check a crit here for the Yugen Mashat to hit for 2 damage. So the Axe Verina doesn't restand, so I just had to clarify that with my opponent. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I have to 2-pass this and pray that he doesn't check a critical trigger. I believe my opponent knew as well, which is why he asked me if I needed a critical trigger count. But I told myself, you know what, even if you do check a crit, it is over. So I have to really bet on 2-pass right here, while keeping like some sort of like advantage for me next turn to sort of get past the combat stage. So he does check nothing, no critical triggers, so thank goodness for that. He checks a front, and Yumen Mashat hitting, yep, there we go, the damage trigger. So stand and draw, no Persona right, unfortunately. So going up to 9 energy, using the wolf to get back the set order using the effect to call back 2 arms. And I was telling myself, you know what, I had to go for the retire. I have the counter blast to get rid of the Axe Verina, because I believe he has a additional shield value in the form of Trickstar Swendy in his soul. So arms going in, counter blasting 1 to retire a grade 2 and above, gaining 5000 power. So that's 20k swing, and the drill giving me another soul for another 20k swing. So hitting 10s is essentially asking for like one card, which is important against the matchup when my opponent already has a very thin hand, no pun intended, because my deck is full of hands. Soul Blasting 1, attack step, start, swing, and that is 51,000, swinging my opponent, or 56,000 actually. And here we go, he does not have enough to guard, and that was game 3. Alright, final game of the day. So this was actually the top 4 game already against my friend Bluesy. So I first met Bluesy in Agora when I was playing Dragon Eyeing. So he is a absolute monster house when it comes to playing Eva. Probably no one in Singapore plays Eva better than him, in my honest opinion. And I actually went first, so this was half the battle won against any Eva matchup, honestly speaking. But Eva, you're gonna see how resilient this deck is, even though it is considered a outdated deck, but it is still one of the strongest decks in standard if anyone is able to play it to its highest potential. So Bluesy is definitely one of those players that can actually bring out the full potential of the deck. His deck list is absolutely insane. I would suggest checking him out. If you guys can find his Twitter, I'll probably try to like pop up his Twitter handle name here somewhere. But yeah, so really good friend, and his smile will just bring like a sunshine to any card shop. Honestly, such a nice guy, such a chill guy as well. So I actually went first using Silhouette, and I did have a little misplay over here, but not really, because I kind of want the aggro early as well. But you're gonna see Bluesy just guarding everything. I did check a crit there, so he was thinking a little hard on how to guard this, because Bluesy's playstyle is he'll try to like guard early while maintaining sort of a safe distance, especially in decks that hit like a truck unless he has a perfect guard. So you're gonna see him frantically searching out the monster PG with the torrential energy research. So here we have him farming out, and PG, yep. So I remember like, oh my god, you have a PG, shit, my Vanguard's not gonna hit. Yep. Here we're gonna see him calling out the Immigra. So this was a 18k column, so I believe he just swung like this. Yep, there we go. And I was telling myself, okay, you know what, maybe 1 pass like before. Oh no, I chose to no guard. So yep, there we go, critical trigger. He does swing my hand, so essentially getting the effect that I really want, because going up to the grade 3 Silhouette will net me back 2 more arms, which is great. And here we have me using the Fire Regulus from the graveyard to get a Winston, which does nothing unless my opponent is grade 3, unfortunate. But in Eva, where they don't really have like back row removal, it's really good to actually just set up early game. So unfortunate that I was breaking the set order, that's why my Baldrate was like not moving, but it's fine. I mean, it's really whatever. So here we have me doing my usual shenanigans. He does use the monster PG to guard the center column. So we're just gonna see Eva do their usual thing, going up to grade 3, 3 orders, top 3 adding 1 to hand, before jumping into Poison in Paradise Eva, which is the red form of Eva, in case you guys are unaware. And here we have him using Populate, which, as I explained in the Eleglima game, allows Eva to discard the order to maintain some sort of advantage by getting rid of a shieldless value card while still being able to continue their game plan of 3 orders on grade 3 turn. So top 5 calling the grade 3 Obscudate, which is trouble because my hand was not big, I think, yeah, and having the additional crit does present like another avenue of pressure for me. So Magnides, absolute powerhouse of a card. I love this card so much. 2025 has been a really decent year for Brandgate, getting our Magnides, like, oh god, finally. So here we have him doing his usual Eva shenanigans, as I said, and he does use the blue effect in the order zone to get additional 5k power. So Magnides going first before Eva swinging, calling out another Obscudate right there for the additional critical column. So we're like looking at RPD, right? We have 2 grade 3s with 2 criticals, so double checks blank, I think, and me taking the 1 Winston damage, pushing me to 3. So this was really hard to guard because like I did want to maintain a healthy damage gap while trying to maintain hand size, which was really irritating to do. But here we go, going up to another silhouette in the form of Persona Right. So I was really hoping he didn't have another perfect guard in hand to sort of like still push for my center column, because the sides are really neglectable, honestly. But here we go, using the order to call out 2 more arms because my hand was looking a little bit thin. So he does not have the grade 1 Eva research order to prevent the Obscudate from being retired. So my grade 2 arms was actually able to get rid of 1 Obscudate while gaining additional power. So he does take the first one, and the drill was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to take it. And he does PG the center column. I believe he did check the Elementaria in the dry check, I can't be sure about that, but he does not use it. He uses the monster order instead. So I was telling myself, oh, that's a telegraph that he has another PG in hand, which is horrible for me. But he does successfully guard this turn really, really well. And yeah, props to him, man, for being such a great Eva player, honestly. So here we have Freezing Wave going up to 30k shield. So he does not really use a lot of like hard shield value in hand. He just uses the stuff that he farms out, which is what Eva really excels in doing, just thinning the deck, farming and compressing the deck to a point where it is all triggers, because his right line does filter out set orders in the form of Red Eva's effect, and he does get the Persona Right from the Immigra. So here we're gonna see him going up to the Red Eva again with the Persona Right active and getting another blue order. So he does play it. Top 5 calling another rearguard. I believe, yep, he did break a little bit. I remember seeing his expression, and it did look a little bit stressed. He was like, oh damn, I didn't have anything good to call, because as an Eva player myself, I believe calling the shield cycler is just horrible. But he does have the ace unit, which allows him to compress the deck even further, which is crazy. And at this point I was like, you know what, the writing is pretty much on the wall. I don't think I can survive this turn, because my hand was looking quite tragic with a lot of like fake shield value, and I did not have the PG for the Obscudate swing if it does come down. So here we go, ace unit going first for 35k, which is huge. And I was actually struggling a little bit to guard this when I was asking him for the power of the side, and not forgetting he does have the grade 1 kaiju behind the shield cycler to actually get 18k boost with the amount of grades that are actually present in the order zone already. So here we go, Obscudate out, and he did check the critical trigger, which was pretty much lethal for me, and I was telling him, you know what, that is game. So shoutouts to Bluesy for being such a crazy player, and amazing game as always.